Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks you got with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my friend who likes to make a decision. It's Frank. How are you today?
Decision fatigue. Thy name is Beer with Geeks.
Indeed. Now, Frank, when I suggest topics to you, and you're like, okay, cool, and you open a beer to drink your woes away like you're doing right now, there's a, I do think like, oh no, this is an episode in which I say to Frank, you're going to have to choose between this thing and that thing, and it's not going to go well for you. How does that make you feel inside?
Normally, I feel very conflicted inside, and I don't love it. But I will say, when you suggested this one, I did not have a hard time choosing, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that. I also didn't have a hard time choosing the beer that I'm drinking. I picked up a Sam Adams Wicked Hazy Juicy New England IPA. And I like that this is a totally different can design for Sam Adams. It looks completely different than their usual.
It looks like they're trying to be a little indie,
a little more craft brew type of
craft brewy.
Totally. It's great. It's a very good juicy IPA. There's a citrusy, fresh fruit aroma. It says packing punches of orange, mango, and pineapple. And I definitely get the orange and the pineapple for sure. Those are very strong flavors here. So it's good. It's got some sweetness to it, but it's still almost 7%, 6.8. So it's got that heft of an IPA, but it's juicy and kind of sweet, and I actually like it quite a bit. It's one of my favorite.
Juicy and sweet. That sounds. I'm going to pick that up.
You should. Yeah,
Sam Adams.
It'll be everywhere this summer. I think it seems like it's in good supply up here in New England. So
that's good. It's funny. I almost stopped at the liquor store the other day. I was like, "Oh, I need new beers for Beer with Geeks. I better stop." And then I didn't. And so I'm
drinking a Peroni. No.
I'm drinking a Schweppes Black Cherry Seltzer, actually, because I was too lazy to get up to go get a beer. Because here we are, and so
beer we are.
Whatever. So I'm drinking a Seltzer. We're back on that bandwagon. We have a lot of wagons here. Sometimes they're red, sometimes they're blue, and sometimes they're banned.
Not a bandwagon, but a banned wagon. A wagon which has been banned from elsewhere, and that's what we're on.
That is correct. Exactly. So Frank, a couple of weeks, days, months ago, I don't know, I've lost all track of time, truthfully. There was a thing circulating on the Twitters, and it was, if you have to lose 3 forever in any future projects out of these list of film franchises, what would they be? And so I said, oh, that's fun. We should do that and compare our answers. And then if we run out of time, we should also do, what are the only 3 that you can keep?
Yeah.
And what else are you ditching?
I like
that. Way harder. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, I know you were about to list off all the properties that are on this.
I sure was.
I'm going to put the image, I'm going to make it the cover art for this episode just so folks can refer back to it easily.
Oh, look at you. You're so nice. It's such a great idea. All right, now, apart from the niceties, let's get down to business. The projects are as follows: Star Wars, Harry Potter, 007, James Bond, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, The Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, DC movies, and that's not just the DCEU. That's all DC movies.
Going back to like Superman the movie, like everything,
Exactly.
Batman '89, everything.
Yeah, serials up. Let's go all in. The Fast and the Furious, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and Avatar. There's a lot of film for, and this is Avatar, the James Cameron, not Avatar, the Last Airbender.
Ah, yes, good distinction.
Yes, we must be distinct here. So, Frank, can let's do something fun?
Okay.
Can I guess what 3 projects that you're going to keep?
Oh, which 3 I'm going to keep?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Oh no, what 3 projects will you lose?
Yeah.
No,
let's start with the eliminating.
Okay,
sure. Guess which ones I'll eliminate. Go ahead.
You are going to eliminate the Fast and the Furious. You are going to eliminate Avatar, and you are going to eliminate Harry Potter.
Ooh, you are 2/3 right.
Fast and Furious and Harry Potter.
Nope.
Oh, Fast and the Furious. So you're going to eliminate
I'm
Avatar.
getting rid of, Avatar and Fast and the Furious are gone.
Okay.
I don't care. I've never seen a single Fast and Furious movie, and I may never. What I was going to say is, I've never seen a Fast and Furious movie, and I don't give up if I ever do. And then, Avatar, I saw it, didn't change my life. I find it very hard to think that James Cameron is going to change my life with 5 more of them. So I'm fine saying goodbye to that one, because I can still keep Pocahontas if I get rid of Avatar, so that's fine. And if I don't get to see any more of them, that's fine too. So that's okay. And Fast and Furious, like I said, sorry, and that was harsh. I was being harsh just for comedic effect. I don't have anything against the Fast and the Furious movies. I've just never seen them. It's not really my thing, and I don't have a plan to get into it unless someone really begs me to. The third one, should I get into my third one yet, or should I guess what I think your 3 are first?
Guess my 3, because if it's one, like, I might be like, how dare you ditch Jurassic Park or James Bond, or
Sure.
I was totally surprised it was Star Trek or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a longer conversation.
Okay, maybe it is. Gosh, this is hard. I'm having a hard time with this for you, but I'm going to guess that. Oh man, I hope that we at least have some of these in common. I'm gonna guess that Fast and Furious and Avatar are on your list.
Fast and Furious and Avatar are on my list. Okay, they are gone. I have seen a few of the Fast and the Furious movies. I remember seeing the first one in theaters many years ago.
Oh, the first and the Furious. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Many years ago, when it was basically like, I'm a cop, we're not, we race cars. And now it's like, there's a laser on top of this car that will blow up the world if we don't stop it. I enjoyed the first one when I was a kid. I saw it a few times in the theaters. But full disclosure, my friend's aunt ran the movie theater, so we went like every weekend
that's
and
right,
saw a lot of movies for free. So, if anything, that was probably pretty influential in the things that I like now.
That makes sense. Yeah. And Avatar,
I like the first Avatar movie, the only one that I've seen because it's the only one released. But back in 2009 or whatever. But I have nothing against it. It's a fine movie. It's a more important piece of cinema history because of its technological influence.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But it's not that it disappears from history. It's just that I would never watch it again.
Right.
Like I'm not allowed to ever watch any of these projects or any future Avatar movies. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm certainly curious about the other ones because James Cameron is friggin' James Cameron. There's always something new to see. But if that's the sacrifice I have to make to say keep Star Wars, I'm going to keep Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So
then
do you think?
Your third one is where it gets hard.
It got really hard for me too because there's a few in here that I'm like, well,
I can't because the rest of these I have a hard time seeing you saying goodbye to really any of what's left, because what's left once you eliminate Fast and Furious and Avatar is Star Wars, MCU, DC, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, 007, Star Trek, and Indiana Jones. And I have a hard time seeing you say goodbye to any of those. But the one that, if there's one that I have a gut feeling about, it's Back to the Future.
That's probably all. That's really where I land as well.
Yeah,
because
no, that's not what to be clear, that's not for listeners. That's not what the third one I would eliminate. I'm guessing that's what Tim would eliminate.
And here's why, and it hurts me because I think the first Back to the Future movie is gold. It is beyond gold. It is platinum.
Yeah,
it is wonderful.
Nearly perfect movie.
I don't. It is diminishing returns for me with the second and the third one, and then that's it. There are no more. There probably won't be any more. So it feels like an okay sacrificial play. Like, I'll live with the memories of the first one in my head. I'm fine. I like the first Back to the Future movie more than all of the Harry Potter movies. And the majority of, maybe except for the first one, and the majority of the 007 movies.
Sure.
So I don't need to see all of those again. But the ones that I would want to see more future Harry Potter projects.
Sure.
And I would want to see more future Bond projects. It's more about the future than the past for those.
Sure.
Whereas Back to the Future, ironically, I don't think has a future.
I kind of feel like if they didn't do it in 2015, I think 2015 was the year to reboot Back to the Future. If you were going to do it, you do it where you go back to 1985, right? Like that is you go back 30 years to 1985. That was the time to do it. If you wanted to do it in the cleverest way and in the most exciting way, I'm sure someone will reboot Back to the Future at some point. There is only studios can only look at so many of their projects and be like, no, that's too. We can't touch that. So I'm sure there will be, but if they were going to do it, that would have been the time to do it, and I would have been somewhat okay with it as a fan. But I can see your reasoning there. That's not what I would choose. That's not my third.
I didn't think that's not yours. So so I need to guess your third one, right? Because I haven't guessed your third one yet. Or did I guess your third one?
You guessed a couple. You made a couple guesses.
Right. Logically,
yes.
I think maybe. No, it's okay. I already guessed. I don't want extra guesses. You go. It's okay. That's not fair. I'm gonna play by the rules.
No. I actually want to know. I want to know what you think, because I've said it's Fast and Furious and Avatar. So you were right about 2 of the 3, but what do you think the third one is? I really want to know what your gut reaction is.
It's Lord of the Rings. I would
it is. I hate to say it.
Yeah, you're just not interested.
And it's kind of like what you said about Back to the Future. It's not like I dislike it. It's just a lack of. If I don't get to see future Lord of the Rings projects and I don't get to watch the ones that exist, I'd be the least upset out of everything else on this slate. Like if you told me I could never watch another DC movie existing or future, I'd be upset about that. You tell me I can never watch another Lord of the Rings movie existing or future, I won't be as upset. I planned to get around to watching the extended cuts of all the Lord of the Rings films. I really do. I really and truly do intend to watch them at some point. But if you told me, never mind, you can't, I'd be like, all right, I wasn't sure when I was going to get around to them anyway, so I guess it's not really that much of a loss. And that's not to say that I don't want other people to have them, but it's like, if you're asking,
for you. Yeah,
it's for me.
They don't disappear from the world forever. They're just for you.
Right.
It's for you. Hilariously, though, when I was looking up and down the list, be like, which one would Frank list? My eye literally skipped over Lord of the Rings every single time.
Really?
Because somewhere in the back of my brain, I went, you can't get rid of Lord of the Rings. It's perfect.
And that's what I thought. That's what I thought you would say. I thought you'd be a lot more scandalized, because I thought you'd be like, how can you get rid of such perfection?
One, I know you haven't seen them, so and fantasy, you've made abundantly clear over the course of our friendship that you do not care for fantasy, pretty much in the same way that I don't care for, I don't know, tropey science fiction or something.
Yeah, like hard
that,
sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, not hard sci-fi, because that I would define that as something like Ex Machina or something.
Oh,
like
okay,
that
sure.
Hard sci-fi, and like ones that ask philosophical questions or something. That's hard sci-fi. It's more like Firefly or Doctor Who, or that type of science fiction doesn't hold any kind of water for me.
Yep. Yeah, and so in the same fashion, we've talked about this a lot, that fantasy doesn't float my boat in a similar way. I just there is just nothing else. Even Harry Potter, which I have not even seen all the Harry Potter movies, but I like the franchise. I've read all the books, and I enjoy it enough that I would want that to stick around because I think that there's a lot of fun things that happen there, and that has more of an appeal to me than Lord of the Rings does. I toyed with 007, to be honest with you, because
I did too.
The ratio there is not as good, let's say, as some of these other franchises.
No, if I could give you like 5 Bond movies that I'd be cool with keeping, and you can ditch the rest of them.
Right, exactly. And out of like 25 movies, that's a terrible ratio.
Awful ratio.
Right? But like if the same ratio were applied to the MCU, for example, where they also have something like 25 movies, and if it was like, I'll just keep 5 of them and never see the other 20 again, that would be
it's so impossible. It's almost I think if I had to do that.
Wait, no, don't do that because that's a whole podcast right there.
No,
that is content.
My answer is clear cut.
Of what your 5 MCU movies would be that you keep and never watch another. Well,
Captain America.
Oh wow.
Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. Done.
You're not even going to say Iron Man. You're not even going to say the first Avengers movie. You're not
because the Captain America movies are my favorite.
Yeah.
So there's 3.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it wraps up that Captain America story.
Okay.
Plus I get to see literally everybody else in those 2 movies.
So it's the Steve Rogers saga is basically what you've just built. Is the 3 Cap movies and then Infinity War and Endgame.
That's correct. I built the Steve Rogers saga, and I would be perfectly fine with that.
Honestly, that's a very good lineup of movies. If you're going to just keep 5, that is a very, very good, very, very good number. I would really struggle with 5 because so many of Phase 1 were I loved so much, like the first Iron Man movie, first Cap movie, first Thor movie. I loved those, and the first Avengers film still stands. The first Avengers film, I know it's not as good as an Infinity War.
The
and
second
Endgame.
Avengers film, I agree.
I know.
Yeah,
but
no, I seriously think that I don't think the first. I think the second one is a better movie.
I know.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it recently enough to be able to really intelligently talk to you about that. To be honest with you. But it's been a long time since I've seen Ultron. But I love that first wave of films so much that I feel like I have too much emotional attachment to some of them to be that clear cut and say like cut this, just give me this like storyline of one character or whatever. I would have a hard time. What I might do is the Tony Stark story, and so I might do Iron Man 1, Avengers, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame.
I like your dissection of the Tony Stark story. You skipped over 2 and 3.
Yeah, because who needs them?
Well, I like 2.
I know, but if I only have 5, those are not my favorite movies.
No, it's true. But if you only have 5 and you're looking at the actual progression of his character, you said Iron Man, Avengers, Civil War, and then the 2 last Avengers movies. I think that's the dissection of the Tony Stark story.
If you've only got 5 movies to do it, I would say that's the way to do it. Like those are the high points of his story arc. You are missing some details, but it's almost like, but that's like that stuff that was covered in a spin-off novel or a companion comic, and like if you want to get the full story, you read that, and that's what I think about Iron Man 2 and 3 in a sense, and even Age of Ultron or whatever. Like, you could, and the same thing with Steve Rogers. Like, there's stuff missing from the way you've dissected it, but like not things that are essential to understand the character or where he went over those few years.
Except apart from him, like he's a part of the Avengers, like
right.
But there's nothing in the first Avengers movie that is so important to the growth of Steve Rogers. Apart from him being like, oh, technology, it's different than it was in 1945.
That's a little bit why I'm surprised, because that is like, I mean, that movie was built around him at first. It didn't end that way, but it was originally built around him. So I see where you're coming from, and I think that you've picked probably, if you were just there for the Steve Rogers of it all, that is a good selection. That's a good screening. The Steve Rogers Film Festival.
Yeah.
And I'll do the Tony Stark Film Festival, and everyone will be happy.
If we were there just for Thor, what is it? Thor 1, 2, 3, Endgame, and Infinity War, right?
I guess, yeah.
Because Thor, the amount of importance that Thor holds over Avengers and Age of Ultron is pretty minimal.
Yeah, no.
It's apart from his connection to Loki in Avengers, but even that you can.
But but that's more like you need Thor to understand Avengers. You don't need Avengers to understand Thor.
Correct.
Right. So like if you can take Avengers out and just watch Thor 1, 2, 3, and then the
people just as in terms of taste or like a preference, they might go Thor, Avengers,
Thor 3,
Thor Ragnarok, I should say,
yeah.
So, and then the last two Avengers films, just because you're really going to give up Avengers for Dark World,
which I could definitely see. But if you just care about tracing that character trajectory, I could see
there's more growth for Thor.
It's one of it's one of those
more growth for Thor in Dark World than there is in Avengers.
That's right. Okay. Well, now I'm curious. So what if you could only keep 3 out of this bunch to come back to this original list of franchises? If you can only keep 3, do you have a handle on which 3 you would keep? Because that is the much harder question for me personally. Because
do you want me to say them right now, or do you want to guess?
I'm going to guess that you would say Star Wars, Jurassic Park, and then from there it's a toss-up for me between MCU and DC. I'm going to say that you would say Star Wars, Jurassic Park, MCU, if you could only keep 3.
You are 1 out of 3.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah. Jurassic Park is a great guess. Like, a top-notch, what an outstanding, choice that you have tried to make there.
I mean, if Jaws was on this list, I would have gone with that.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely Star Wars. Without question, I think that's pretty obvious if anybody knows us.
That's like the free space in the middle of the bingo card.
That's right. And because it's not a mutually shared interest, you probably don't know the depths of importance that Lord of the Rings has.
That's
for me.
true. That was a mistake on my part. I actually should have called that.
Yeah, so just kind of I didn't guess it for you immediately, and the opposite. Lord of the Rings is it is Star Wars to me, if not sometimes surpassing Star Wars. They go neck and neck. It's like the Flash and Superman racing, you're just never gonna it's gonna go back and forth all the time. And using that example, I'm actually gonna say DC as my third one.
Okay.
Even though I think that the caliber of the DC movies doesn't always match all of the Marvel films, I will infinitely always enjoy watching Superman the movie, or Batman '89, or just those two.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I actually, you know what? I was so focused on is he going to go DC or Marvel? I was so focused on that I overlooked. Well, between Jurassic Park and Lord of the Rings, if I'd phrased the question to myself that way of, will he pick Jurassic Park or Lord of the Rings? I would have said Lord of the Rings 100%. But I was so distracted by DC versus Marvel that I didn't even think about Lord of the Rings became a blind spot. So that's interesting. Yeah, I can see why you would keep DC. Because again, it's not just the current wave of DC films. It's every DC film and future projects. So
that's right.
If you couldn't have your Batman films, that would be a sad day for you.
What if I wanted to watch Batman Forever or The Dark Knight or Batman 66 or Batman v Superman or any of these movies that I enjoy all the and I mean we're counting animation here, so what if I wanted to watch Under the Red Hood or Mask of the Phantasm or something that's a lot of content that I can't have. I can't watch Supergirl, I can't watch Superman and Lois, I can't watch Lois and Clark, I can't watch Smallville. That's
a lot of stuff that's near and dear to your heart.
A lot of stuff, and so I just I have to keep that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Star Wars, DC, Lord of the Rings, though Jurassic Park comes the closest after that.
Sure. By the first honorable mention, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say Jurassic Park and the MCU are the next neck and neck after that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then Indiana Jones probably after that.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So I'm going to guess for you.
Guess for me. Which 3 would I keep?
And I think you're going to keep Star Wars. I think you're going to this gets tricky. I'm going to go weird.
Okay, go
if
weird.
You don't mind.
Go weird.
I think you're going to keep Star Wars. I think you're going to keep Star Trek. And I think you're going to keep the No, I think we're going to keep Back to the Future.
You were closer with MCU.
Okay.
You got two.
All right.
You almost had 2 out of 3. You got 1 out of 3. So I would keep.
I told you I was going weird. So.
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's okay. I got 1 out of 3 too. So, Star Wars for sure. Star Wars, like I said, the free space in the middle of the bingo card. So Star Wars for sure. But then from there, and I toyed with Star Trek. I do love Star Trek. I think I like Star Trek more than you, although I'm not sure that might be oversimplifying it.
I think you do like Star Trek more than me. I like particular Star Treks more. Like the hard part for me with giving up Star Trek is that Star Trek is one of my father-in-law's favorite things of all time.
I know that, yeah.
And so it almost feels like I wouldn't be able to watch Star Trek with
with him, yeah.
Pops.
Yeah.
So yeah,
a
thing I never call him. Yeah.
For anonymity's sake, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me it would be Star Wars, not Star Trek, and I wasn't sure if we were including TV series or not.
Sure,
but
all future projects in the vicinity.
Well, I guess that means I can't watch any Star Trek shows or movies. But I'm keeping Star Wars. And then from there, it's DC movies and MCU. If I can only keep 3, dude, you can't tell me that I can't watch Superman ever again.
I know. I knew it was going to be DC, but I was just kind of going in a weird direction. So
just because it doesn't mean just because I'm not thrilled with the current wave of DC movies doesn't mean that I never want to watch a Superman property ever again or future ones.
It's so true. Or even like going backwards, I'm like, Frank, you could never watch Smallville again.
Right? I'm like, no. You know what? Of course I'm gonna. But yeah. So yes, the MCU has
That's
just
the one that surprised me.
It's brought me so much joy over the last 15 years, like 14 years. How can I not? Like, it has made me it's brought so much joy to me. So as much as I adore Back to the Future and I adore Jurassic Park, and I love Indiana Jones, how it would be hard to say goodbye to those things, but if I can only pick 3, the 3 things that are most that bring me the most joy, certainly the 2 things that are most foundational to me are Star Wars and Superman. Full stop. Like, you asked me to only name 2 franchises, and those are the 2 that I'm going to name first. Even if you just asked me to name franchises you like, those are going to be the first things out of my mouth: Star Wars and Superman.
DC and Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah. Specifically Superman, but yes, let's say DC.
Yeah. And mine might be Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
Okay. There you go.
Maybe. I don't know. It's tough. They just all float in my head.
Like, if
it's so hard to say.
When I explain to someone, I have a podcast. What about nerdy stuff? Like superheroes and Star Wars. Like, that's the first thing I say all the time is like superheroes and Star Wars, to get the point across of like what kind of, because even if you say geeky stuff, that could mean like technology, or like what kind of geek are we talking?
Right. It's true.
And so I'm like,
you like phonics? Is that you into grammar?
Right. So I'm like, superheroes, Star Wars, that kind of stuff. So for me, it's Superman and Star Wars, and then from the rest of this list, it's just like the MCU has brought me so much joy in the last however many years. I can't do the math, but it's just too big to not include in the list, because it's that impactful to me now. So there you go. Those are the ones. And this was a fun discussion. I feel like we could do this. I feel like it would be fun to do. I would actually like to hear our audience's thoughts on this. If we did, you just did the Steve Rogers Film Festival, I just did the Tony Stark Film Festival. It would be fun to dissect the MCU or other franchises via like, if you could only keep 5 movies out of this franchise, like which are the 5 that tell a story? That trace a story within the story.
Yeah. Like, do you keep the Anakin films or do you keep the Luke
exactly
films?
Like that. Yes. If you could only tell Anakin's story in 3 films and it can't be all 3 from the same trilogy, which 3 would you keep? Okay. Like that. Don't answer that right now. I see the wheels turning. Don't answer that right now. I think that would be a fun project for a future topic for a future episode. But we don't have time for that right now because it's time to say goodbye, Tim. Because if folks want
to say goodbye.
You can find us on beerwithgeeks.com, at beerwithgeeks on Twitter, beerwithgeeks@gmail.com if you want to tell us, help us think up more topics like this, where it's like pick 3 out of a bunch. Maybe send us lists that we can only pick a number of things out of, or maybe suggest the Natasha Romanoff Film Festival or whatever that we'll put together, or the Anakin Skywalker Film Festival, as Tim suggested. Send us more suggestions like that on Twitter and via email. Those are both at beerwithgeeks.com. Or listen to our other shows at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio because that helps us keep the lights on. That helps us continue to make these shows and makes it possible to do that. And you can please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher, Spotify, everywhere the podcasts are found. That helps us so much. Thank you to everyone who's done that. And if you haven't, consider doing it now. That would be a huge help. So, Tim, until the next time that we get to sit down and have decision fatigue, cheers.